I've been itching like a kid with severe allergies for a new JRPG to sink a few dozen hours into. Other than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Unicorn Overlord, the genre has had a rather sparse 2024, including some disappointing titles like Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. Sure, I do have a handful of great remakes like Persona 3 Reloaded and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door patiently waiting on my shelf, but this itch I have is specifically for something fresh. Thankfully, Square Enix is to the rescue. Who else really? They just dropped a demo for Visions of Mana, which you're seeing on the screen right now, and it fully releases later this month on August 29th. If you're unfamiliar with the Mana games, Visions of Mana is the latest entry in the hit-and-miss action-based JRPG series that began way back in 1991 with Final Fantasy Adventure, and later, and more importantly, Secret of Mana in 1993. I played the Super Nintendo releases way back in the day and the one on the Game Boy Advance, but I haven't really kept up with the series. Still, the announcement trailer for Visions of Mana shown at the Game Awards last December made it look like a delightfully colorful adventure. Yet given that the series hasn't had a lot of critical success, and that's putting it nicely, I've been skeptical of it. Thankfully, that's what demos are for, to see if you like a game or not, right? Unfortunately, I came away almost exactly as skeptical and unsure as I was before playing it. Though maybe you can call me cautiously optimistic now? Anyway, let me explain. I have a love-hate relationship with JRPGs. They frequently fall back on cliches that get in the way of strategic combat and ridiculously epic narratives set in fantastical worlds, usually in the form of extremely tired characterization, excessive dialogue, and bland side quests. Visions of Mana looks poised to trip right into that hole. The demo takes place in 3 areas, beginning here in the icy Rime Falls before moving into the vibrantly green fallow steppes, and finally concluding in a gorgeous little port town bespeckled with blue-leaved trees. Some draw distance issues aside, these areas brought to mind the colorful pastures of a game like Genshin Impact or Immortals Phoenix Rising. Say what you will about either of those games, but they're both colorful treats that are easy on the eyes, and so too is Visions of Mana. The last major release in the Mana series was 2020's Trials of Mana, a remake of the 3rd entry from 1995. It had about a 20-hour runtime, and if Visions of Mana wraps up around then, I could see myself having a good time hopping from one vivid locale to another. With one caveat. If the rest of the adventure has as much inane chatter between anime cliches for characters, I might not make it to the 10-hour mark, let alone 20. When the demo begins, the 4 protagonists discuss the cold, snowy weather for a little too long. Here we have earnest hero who protects his friends, Val, naive but kind-hearted healer, Hina, calm and collected veteran, Morley, and a whiny comic foil, Karina. There's a couple other characters that join this unremarkable bunch, but they're not in the demo. And I know, there's obviously time for their character arcs to subvert expectations here in some way. Yet I found my enjoyment of many JRPGs sapped by thin but recognizable anime cliches like these guys. The rest of the demo didn't dissuade my fears either. Take this little skit near the end of the demo where Karina is accused of stealing from a local magistrate, prompting her to throw a tantrum while Val and friends follow a quest marker to solve the problem. Neither Karina's fit or the 30 seconds it took me to walk across town to finish the quest made me excited to play the full game, nor did the side quests I took part in, which were standard fetch quest fare, complete with requiring you to return to the quest giver for your reward no matter how far away. They also don't shut up. Every time I dashed riding these mounts called Pickles, Val would shout out one of 2 phrases. 気持ちいいな。もっと早く。As you can see, I switched to Japanese voices, but he's saying motto hayaku and kimochi na over and over, which translates to go faster and feels good. These are the only 2 things he barks out every time you dash on a pickle. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time I turned off voices in a JRPG, and Visions of Mana won't be the last. Complaints aside, I did see some promise with the action-based combat. As much as I prefer my JRPGs turn-based, Visions of Mana's combat is rather kinetic, making every whack with Val's greatsword on Rabbites and what have you a weighty, satisfying experience. Likewise, swapping over to Morley to slice and dice bee-lancers also clicked for me. There was even a little challenge area against waves of high-level enemies that promptly wrecked me. I love having that kind of optional challenge to find and take on. I mean, more powerful elite-type enemies did feel a little bit too much like damage sponges, though it looks like there's a lot of different class types to unlock and switch between that grant different magical spells and the like. I didn't get to experience that system here, however. Call me naive, but I have hope that proper builds and better equipment earned from exploring the expansive maps would lead to melting Sonic the Hedgehog here a bit quicker. There's even some fairly slick animations for super moves that I hope aren't limited to 1 or 2 per character or elemental type. The demo concludes with your overtly merry band hopping on a ship to travel onward to a new region, and here Visions of Mana gave me a tantalizing taste of a darker narrative. It seems like each of our heroes, except Val, he's like an honor guard I think, is on their way to sacrifice themselves to the mana tree. In doing so, they'll safeguard their respective villages from harm. They're all happy to do so, but lament the fact that their fun adventure can't go on forever. But this guy here lets on that this isn't the only way forward. There's another path they can take to protect their villages and not die in the process. Cool, right? If their cliched characterization can expand within a more mature storyline like this, I can forgive a lot of inane chatter. Anyway, the demo ends exactly how you'd expect if you hopped on a ship in a JRPG. A Kraken attack. Of course. This boss fight is nothing special, and my AI-controlled companions were kind of stupid repeatedly walking into attacks. While my pals weren't a detriment in this fight, I worry they might be in more difficult bouts. Regardless, I had fun failing to dodge massive bubbles and whacking tentacles for critical hits. All told, when the demo concluded, I was left just as skeptical as to whether or not Visions of Mana will be a worthy JRPG to pick up and put a few dozen hours into. Though after getting a taste of a darker narrative, I'm verging on cautiously optimistic. Vivid environments and some weighty combat can certainly carry a game, yet at the same time asinine dialogue and boring quests can completely derail a JRPG. Either way, I'm looking forward to finding out which way Visions of Mana swings at the end of August. Hey, thanks for watching. I want to introduce my dog Zelda. Isn't she super cute? If this video gets like, 50 likes, I'll give her a peanut butter lick mat even though I'm allergic to peanut butter. I'll post the proof on her Instagram page if I don't go into anaphylactic shock. Don't let her down. Thanks again.